Today my guest will be Magda Magnuszewska, Chief Executive Officer of Inelo. And we are here in Bielsko-Biała in the very beautiful offices of the company. Hello Magdalena, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to the interview series.
Hello, thanks for having me.
And I would like to ask you the first thing, which is related to a topic that I think is very important and very often happens during an interview process, which is being pushed to the limit or pushing to the limit as a hiring manager. Have you experienced this in your career path, being a candidate pushed to the limit, or maybe you yourself pushing somebody to the limit? Just a situation that you really maybe didn't know how to do or what to do. It would be very interesting to hear about that.
So actually, when I thought about this question, I couldn't really find like a single case or single question that really was a killer question during interview, and I couldn't go through it. However, there is one experience that actually I would like to share, and I think it's from a time perspective pretty much added a lot to the way I think about interviewing other people, and definitely to the way I approach interview. That was pretty senior recruitment, actually, international organization willing to open its operations in Poland. And after meeting, the first layer of people, professional, headhunters, I was supposed to meet the big boss who flew to Warsaw to meet me in person. And when I think about, the whole interviewing experience, the merits parts, all the questions, the answer, I clearly felt very confident with, the skills that I have for the position and the, track record that I can demonstrate. So I definitely tick the boxes. But regardless of that, the whole atmosphere of this meeting was very, very awkward. I felt that there is very little understanding and a lot of differences, even in the way we approach certain topics. And definitely the only thing which, when I left the room in my mind, was really something awkward. And definitely the other thing was that this is not a place where I see myself, regardless that on paper it looked perfect for me, but not at all. And then as I had more of those experience training, speaking with people regarding interview, I realized that actually what I experienced there was unconscious bias. The organization which was trying to recruit was very single type of personality or single type of candidates they search, and I was very, very different to what was a typical candidate that they will meet. It was different nationality, different gender, and different age. So all of this element, I think, make this whole feel, regardless of I'm saying things that make sense, the other person just didn't resonate because it didn't fit to the picture, I guess, which was already set. So it's interesting, and of course for me lesson learned is that I need to be aware of this, because I also can apply my own biases to other candidates, and just need to at least try to control it.
Yes, this question of unconscious bias is of course very much related to the topic that is currently very popular, and anyway was subject of my next question I wanted to ask, which is the question and the subject of diversity in diverse teams, especially in senior management, when it's quite often a problem. And I think this is very much related to what you experience. But now, speaking about diversity in its broader perspective, do you have here also experiences, maybe also experiences on the hiring side, how to overcome this, looking for the same kind of persons? Of course, we are speaking sometimes about gender diversity and cultural diversity, But this is also a subject, as you experienced this in this interview. So is there anything that you think it is possible to be made, or maybe you yourself apply during your hiring processes, or I think you can share as a best practice?
So sure. First of all, I was, lucky enough that I've been working in organizations that are, open and empower different profiles from the beginning. So that's good for me. Probably also shaped the way professionally I evolved during that time. But of course, I came across, various others. Good information is that you see a lot more of efforts or at least focus of the organization, of shareholders, investors, public market, press around, various forms of diversity, of inclusion, not only gender, but also others. So this is a good sign. Maybe more challenging element is that this is a process which required a lot of time, which required a lot of efforts from the organization, and it's not enough, to once a year at shareholder meetings says that this is important to me. I am, leading the organization and we are becoming more diversified. And next year, same thing, because this will not happen without action. And actually, I think you can lead by example here. So if I'm doing any senior recruitment, I don't need to tell candidates that, we are open for diversity here, because, they clearly see. And I think this is which really works as a magnet for other people, because we never came, at least I never came to a situation in the organization that I've been, that there was, purely single type of personality, single type of gender environment. And we never had problems with actually getting candidates. What I hear a lot is that in my business, in my industry, there are no qualified candidates of a different profile. And this is simply not true. Maybe just, you are not open enough. Maybe the candidates, as my previous talk, are there, but after, first meeting with a set of very strange, like very unified group of people, they are just not interested. It's, if you see as a face of organization, senior management composing of, 5 men, this sends a signal, at least sends a signal to me. So you need to work really longer term plan, and really sometimes just put it as a firm commitment. So not just maybe if someone will come across, yes, that's a preference, but this is one of a thing.
A goal.
Yeah, go, no go on your list.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is indeed very, very interesting and very actual. Now, a last question, maybe from a little bit a different perspective, but still in the recruitment area, of course, is about the word preparation. Many different opinions. I've heard many senior managers speaking about you cannot prepare for an interview. Do you agree? And if yes or no, why? And maybe also, did you have any experience like that being prepared is a way of doing a good interview, or maybe it's not a way of doing a good interview?
So, first of all, I believe that you need to prepare for the interview, both regardless whether you're a candidate or if you are an interviewer. And of course, maybe the comments that you had, it's that you cannot build a scenario and with this I agree. I never have like a fixed scenario that this is the list of questions, but I definitely prepare. I look through experiences and through something which raises my eyebrow. But during the discussion, I'm trying to really understand the contribution of each candidate. I really like the case studies or any kind of opportunity to really exchange more practical elements and see how candidates think, how you can solve problems together. This I think is really valuable. both the candidates but also the organization. From the candidate perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense to actually spend a lot of time trying to understand the organization more deeply, trying to see various people, trying to ask same question to various people, looking at the different angles that it might have. And actually the results of this exercise might be pretty surprising sometimes. I had a real life experience that, after third stage of an interview, actually final one, when I met the interviewer and we discussed actually, the scope, the expectation, actually realized that we are talking totally different position here. So I spent, 3 interviews discussing something else, and in the head of my future supervisor to be, this was something very different. And this again raises question that you will see. So as I run a lot of processes, I think first of all, so how they run the recruitment process. So what's there. And then, of course, what's behind, whether this problem with communication between, various units, so they are not aware, because this whole story ended up that after, after this interview, where clearly I was surprised, and I didn't, hide that it was something else that I thought. Then there was complete silence for like 2 months, and they came up in the end with something very different. So it was like my impression was that they discussed and they, find a compromise that could fit the whole internal purposes, but,
Quite late.
Quite late, yes. Not necessarily something I'm interested in. So yes, do spend a lot of time and try to analyze it. Will also give you like a real feel of, the culture of the organization and the people. I think it makes a lot of sense.
If you think now about the very, very last thing in the interview now, and people who would like to work with you, do you have yourself a specific twisting thing that is always convincing in, let's say, in imagining you have 3 equally prepared candidates, that you would just click on this one?
So I definitely like candidates that have passion to what they do, that they speak, you feel that it's really something which is work or the specific task is important for them. So I really value that high. Also like candidates with energy, but again, we discussed this before. I'm aware that this might be my preference. I'm also aware that for some position, this is not the best feature. So I'm also really, when I'm preparing, I'm thinking, what position, what technical skills, but also what kind of soft skills would be good, at least in my view, for this.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was very interesting to listen to your remarks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.